Well, let's cut straight to the chase, shall we? Norwich City find themselves in a very sticky position going into the World Cup break after yesterday's defeat to Middlesbrough. It was all going so well. First 20 minutes, wasn't it? It felt like there was an energy about Carrow Road. Norwich City were cutting through Middlesbrough for fun. An early goal through Josh Sargent, and you just thought this is the perfect situation to be going into a month-long break. The next time we'll see Norwich play is probably the 16th of December against Swansea City. So a long while now for those Norwich players to think about the first half of the season, for Dean Smith to reflect on what's happened, and for the board to look at things and make decisions based on what they've seen. Josh Sargent's early goal was a beautiful finish, and I think Norwich look a far better team when Josh Sargent is in the setup. I'm so delighted that his injury that he ended up going off for doesn't look serious, so he'll be meeting up with the United States team as expected. He's, of course, the only Norwich player that will be at the World Cup, and I hope for his sake he gets some game time and plays. I'm really looking forward to seeing his progression. He's been good for Norwich City this season, and it was a beautifully taken goal. But we had other chances. Teemu Pukki had a chance early on. The first 20 minutes was really strong. I think the worrying trend here, and it is a trend because we've seen it over and over with this Dean Smith Norwich City side, is we're yet to put in a full 90-minute performance. There have been flashes of brilliance. I look back to the Stoke game. There was a good 25-minute chunk in that second half where we looked really good, scored a couple of goals. There was a 20-minute chunk yesterday where we looked really good, controlled the game, looked cohesive, players looked sharp. But they have just been 20-minute periods. There was a moment in the second half yesterday where, I don't know if you sit in the Barclay or around the Barclay, I'm sure you'd have heard that lengthy rendition of Gabriel Sara's chant. And that probably went on for a good 15 minutes. And I turned around to Craig, who sits next to me, and I said, Craig, since we've been singing this song, I don't think we've touched the ball. It genuinely felt like not only were we not touching the ball, but it didn't look like we were going to get close to the ball. It was incredibly passive, and that was a concern, and you could just felt as the minutes ticked by that goals were coming. Now, the equaliser for Middlesbrough was a truly sensational strike. I was literally behind it, and it arrowed into the top corner, almost like a scissor kick type action from, was it Riley McGree? I think it was, and it was a good strike. And to be fair to Middlesbrough, and this is no excuse for Norwich City going on to lose the game, I thought they were relatively impressive in that second half, and fair play to their fans. They were raucous. So McGree got the first goal, and you're thinking, okay, it's 1-1. Like, let's see a reaction, because we need a reaction. We really need to win this game. If we would have won that game, there was opportunity to be within touching distance of the top two going into the break. Unfortunately, now I think Michael Bailey said on his interview, his post-match reflection, that Norwich City are just as close to the relegation zone as we're now as close to the top two, and that's a concern. Despite being in the top six, there are two sides pulling away now in Burnley and Sheffield United, who have looked the best teams in the league this season. So you're thinking at 1-1, okay, let's see a reaction, let's see some change, and it never came. Norwich City never looked like going on to win that game. There were a couple of chances. Max Aarons had a good chance that looked in, a sweetly struck half volley. There was a good moment from Arnel Hernandez to get himself into a shooting position and shot straight at the goalkeeper. And you're thinking, okay, a point, like, not the end of the world, also not ideal. And up steps Crooks in the final few minutes of the game, and slots home. He literally come on a minute before. He looked a threat. He was tall. He was a presence. And it was a well-worked goal down the right side. Now, the defending for both aren't great. I mean, the first is a beautiful strike. There can be nothing taken away from that. There was just no pressure on the ball whatsoever. And I look back to the goal we conceded against Rotherham, where again, it was a good strike and, you know, fair play to, I think it was Rathbone who scored for Rotherham. But again, there was no pressure on the ball from midfield or from defence. So if those goals start happening on a regular basis, you have to start looking at yourself as opposed to putting them down as quality strikes. The second, I mean, it's Chuba Akpom, who's with a nice bit of skill on the left-hand side, or over on Dimi and Ulis' side, but beaten so easily. I mean, 2 players, and suddenly you've got a moment in the 92nd minute where you're kind of hanging on. You desperately don't want to lose the game, where Middlesbrough are throwing men forwards, and Norwich just opened up, and Crooks was in for a relatively simple finish across goal, which was incredibly disappointing. I think that's the concern now for Norwich City. Games are getting away from them too easy. It reminded me yesterday's performance of the game we had at Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, where we looked good for the early stages, went into the break 2-0 up. Granted, that game we were kind of gifted one of the goals, and the second was sloppy in that game as well. But you should be seeing those types of games out. Now, I know we didn't take a 2-goal advantage yesterday, but we should have seen that game out. We should have added a second, and we should have then gone on to win that game. Previous Norwich City teams in this division that have gone on to get promoted would have seen that out. And that's the concern for me under Dean Smith, is that when we are under the cosh and when we are needing something different, we're struggling to find it at the moment. And there have been a few occasions now when in winning positions that we've just folded like a pack of cards. And I think that will concern those at Norwich City watching on. And I think that will concern fans, obviously, because like we saw yesterday, although the atmosphere was good at 1-0, fans are really on edge at the moment, and I guess rightly so, because I think that's 2 wins in 10 now, which just simply isn't good enough at this level. And the players will know that, and Dean Smith will know that. It all depends now on, do they think they're capable of turning this around? Now, I would say automatic promotion is a very long price. I can't see it happening. Playoffs are still very much a possibility, but would you back Norwich City over 2 games against quality opposition in the playoffs? I don't think you would at the moment. Now, where does Dean Smith's future lie? Well, I can't see him being sacked, particularly not in this World Cup break. I know a lot of people will say it's the ideal time to make a change. I can't see it happening. I don't think Norwich City will make that call. Do I think he can turn it around? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be really difficult now. I think if one against Middlesbrough and one against QPR, you would be going into this break with a degree of confidence, and I don't think anyone has that confidence at the moment, because there hasn't been, particularly in the last couple of months, the evidence to prove that we're good enough at this level. And that's a real shame, because there is a squad of players there of real quality, and there's no coincidence that every single opposition manager, whether it be Michael Carrick or whoever it is, keeps praising this squad. But there's no praise for Dean Smith at the moment. I think that's the interesting thing. Lots to think about going into the international break, I guess you can call it that. I am looking forward to the World Cup, actually. I'm looking forward to a break from Norwich City. Also, and I must say this, I'm going to throw in the trailer, we have been really lucky to be able to speak to Mark and Mike Attanasio. The podcast is going out at 5 o'clock on Monday, so subscribe. Make sure you're ready for that. It is a really revealing podcast. There are lots of questions that have been answered by the new shareholders in Norwich City. I think they're an exciting pair of people, and I'm really looking forward to you guys for watching it.
But if we were here, when we met out front here, who are these guys? We might have walked out. Understand completely the pressure Stuart's under, the challenges the team has. Look, you want to spend every available dollar. But then the question is, how do you spend it? Because you want, and that's one of the things that's great here, you want to have all of what you have here. The fans want to see a winning team, period.
Yeah.
I got some socks.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow. Right, there we go.
You've got to have a pair of yellow and green socks on match day.
I'd like to think, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here because we're all learning, but I'd like to think that we can really, really help. And watching you guys go crazy in celebration after the goal, we thought it was hilarious.
And you'll think,
who are these guys?
What have we got ourselves into? Yeah. What have we got ourselves
into? So fun.
Blame the beer sponsor.
The passion we see for the team, including sometimes when people are unhappy, I always say it's better that people care.
Absolutely.
If you don't care.
So true.
Actually met the CEO of Ipswich Town on a video.
Sorry to hear.
Is it?
Well, it's funny though, but it's like they just want to be us here. You will see some notable differences here.
Is the aim over time to increase that shareholding? Is that what the end goal is? So there we go. That will be out on Monday at 5 o'clock on the TNC YouTube channel, and you can catch all of the coverage on our social medias as well. I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.